Hey everyone, my name is Briana Scurry and I want to share with you the story of a young girl's journey. That young girl was me. When I was 8 years old, I watched the Lake Placid ice hockey team in 1980 Lake Placid Olympic Games beat a team that everyone thought was unbeatable. I remember so distinctly sitting on the couch with my mom on one side and my dad on the other side, watching Team USA play against the USSR, and somehow, miracle of all miracles, they beat them. What's interesting about that, for those of you who may not have been around to see that amazing game in 1980, was Team USA was given zero chance of winning. It would have been virtually impossible, so many people thought, for them to win. And I remember sitting there watching the possible happen, the impossible made possible. And I declared to my mom and dad at 8 years old, I stood up from my couch and said, I want to be an Olympian. And the good news for me is my mom and dad thought the big idea that this little 8-year-old girl had was possible. They nurtured, they watered, they protected my little inspiration and supported me in every step of the way. They both were there for all my training sessions. They took me from here to there. They were supportive. They said, honey, if you want to be an Olympian, you go for it. You can be anything in the world you want to be. And I am so grateful, and I am honored to have been their child, because without their support at that very young, early age of that inspiration, of that little bitty seed of a dream of inspiration that I saw on TV that I wanted to be that thing too, it never would have happened. So at 8 years old, I had this dream, and I went through the years in junior high playing 4 different sports. I was that kid that played everything that they could get their hands on. I wanted to play soccer, I wanted to play field hockey, I wanted to play basketball, I wanted to run track and play softball, and thank goodness for my parents were very supportive of helping me become who I was going to be. And they were there all the time, every step of the way. When I was in my teenage years, I made a sign. I believe I was 15, 16 years old. And I took out a piece of paper, an 8 by 11 inch piece of paper, plain piece of paper, and I wrote these words: Olympics, 1996, I have a dream. And I made it really nice and neat and measured the letters just right on this piece of paper. And I put that paper on my wall so I could look at it every day when I woke up, and every night before I went to bed. Day after day after day, I looked at that piece of paper. I looked at that sign, Olympics 1996, I have a dream. And at the time I was playing, like I said, multiple sports, and I was just so happy to be an athlete, to be a student, to be someone who is, I felt, chasing their dream. I went on to high school. I played 4 sports in high school. I was All-American in soccer, and so I decided to go with soccer in terms of achieving what I wanted to achieve. First of all, to go to college, to be one of the first in my family to do so, and second of all, to achieve and grab the coveted thing, which is a scholarship. A scholarship. And there's a reason why achieving a scholarship is so important. Because as supportive and amazing as my family was throughout the years, we didn't have a lot of money. My mom and dad worked their fingers to the bone for years, but they never really were able to garner a whole lot of wealth. So I had to get a scholarship. If I was going to go to college at all, I had to do that. So gratefully and luckily, I was able to play a lot of sports and got a lot of recognition, and I had over 70 different colleges interested in having me at their universities when I was a senior in high school. So I chose the University of Massachusetts at Amherst, and Jim Rudy, who was the coach there, came to see me play in Minnesota, in Dayton, Minnesota, which is the town I was from. He came from Massachusetts to see me play, and he said that there was something special about you. I want to offer you a scholarship to play at UMass. And I said, hey, let's do it. That sounds fantastic. So I went on to the University of Massachusetts. Little did I know that this entire time that I was striving for my dream in whatever steps I was taking at the time, that there were things going on that I had nothing to do with, people I had never met before, were working hard to help make my dream become a reality. I did my part, which was to give my full effort every day, to work hard, to hone my skills as best as I could, and to get that great scholarship that I needed so I could go on and play at the next level, the collegiate level, to play soccer. My senior year at the University of Massachusetts as the goalkeeper, we had the lowest goals against average in the entire country. Now that's saying something. For those of you who might be a little bit older, back then, that was in the late 80s, early 90s, and there was this woman at the University of North Carolina, who I'm sure, I hope, at least, a lot of you know, and her name was Mia Hamm. And Mia Hamm was playing at the same time I was playing, and my senior year, my team, UMass, made it to the NCAA Final Four. This was 1993. We made it to the NCAA Final Four, and we were slotted against, guess who? UNC. Against Mia Hamm, and one of the best teams to ever play women's soccer in the entire world at the University of North Carolina, the Tar Heels. And we were actually at the university, so it was a home game for them, and we were playing against them. I knew at the time that this may be not only a great way to showcase my abilities in goal and potentially win this game and go on to win a national championship with UMass, but there was one other thing, one other factor there in that game. The head coach of UNC, Anson Dorrance, who, ironically or not ironically, is still the head coach of that team. He was the head coach of UNC, and he wore two hats. Head coach of that college team, but at the time he was also the head coach of the U.S. women's national soccer team. So I knew if I go and play this game against UNC, against his team, and he gets to actually see me in person play, and I can go out there and give my best, that surely I would have an opportunity to be on the national team. Surely I'd have an opportunity to go into camp and maybe achieve my dream. So it was so exciting. My team and I, we went out there to play that game when that whistle blew. Kickoff. We were so excited. We thought we could definitely do this. It was almost like the Lake Placid ice hockey team, almost like an impossible thing to do. Very improbable. Nobody gave us a chance except for the 20 of us. We went out there, we fought hard. The first 10 minutes, the whistle blows, beep! Referee points to the penalty spot. Penalty kick against me. And guess who steps up to the spot to take this kick? Mia Hamm. Now, if you ask Mia, she said that she didn't know if she was going to make it. Like, come on now, right? That's absolutely absurd. I was excited for the opportunity because I figured if I can make this penalty kick save, I can really make an impression on Anson. Mia stepped up to the spot, took the kick, goal. 1-0 Carolina. 10 minutes later, goal. 2. 10 minutes after that, goal. 3-0 at halftime. Now, what would you do or think or feel after such an encounter? It didn't go the way you wanted it. It wasn't exactly drawn up how you would like it. You have a choice. You have an opportunity to go ahead now and try to win it back, or you can go out there and just roll over and let the other team beat you. We decided we were going to fight. And we went out there, we scored the first goal, it was 3-1. They scored, and unfortunately the game ended at 4-1. Now, most people would think that at that point in time, my dream was dashed. I was going to be, never asked to be at the national team camp because UNC scored 4 goals. But guess what? A week and a half later, I got a call. I was invited into camp. That was November of 1993. By March of 1994, I went from number 5 on the totem pole to number 1. I was starting goalkeeper for the U.S. Women's National Team. In the background, like I said earlier, things were moving, people were making decisions, stuff that I knew nothing about. In 1994, women's soccer, that was not in the Olympic Games at the time, was declared a full medal sport for the first time ever. And yours truly found herself the starting goalkeeper for that team. And 2 years later, in 1996, we did this. This is the first ever women's soccer Olympic gold medal. I absolutely love this thing. Normally, I would love to pass it around to people so you can touch it, feel it, take pictures and whatnot, but I can't do that now, but I wanted you to see. And the reason I talk about this medal so much is because that little 8-year-old girl had a dream. And at the time, women's soccer wasn't even in the Olympic Games. And so what I want to say to you on that regard is I want you to know that every one of you should have a huge, audacious dream. A dream that's bigger than anything you could possibly grasp. And if you don't have people around you that support you, find them. Now, my dream was to win this, and I was lucky enough to do it. But I was also lucky enough to be on the '99 Women's World Cup team. And after the Women's World Cup, a lot of you have probably seen Brandi Chastain take off her jersey and swing it around her head after we beat China in front of 90,000 people at the Rose Bowl, 107 degrees on the field. And I made an amazing, what I think, penalty kick save in that game. And shortly after that game, I was asked to be on the Wheaties Box. This is an actual Wheaties Box. And this is my little picture on there. And it was a fantastic honor for me to do this. This was in 2000 when I was actually invited to be on the box. And then 4 years later, my team and I were back in the Olympics again in Athens, Greece. And we were able to win the second Olympic gold medal. And this is from 2004. I had a fantastic soccer career, absolutely amazing. But what made it even more amazing was I was very open about who I was with my teammates. I was one of the few, if not the only, openly gay woman on my team. I was one of the few openly gay women that actually talked about being a lesbian. I was also one of the few African American women on my team as well. And soccer, for the most part back then, was a fairly white sport. It was a white suburban sport, so there was an African American lesbian playing a sport that is predominantly played by white males. White straight males most of the time. And I, going through my career, had many obstacles to overcome. But being gay was not one of them. Thankfully for me, my family was very supportive, and my teammates were incredibly supportive as well. And I will say to you, as glorious as these 2 medals have been, winning the World Cup in '99, being on the Wheaties Box is fantastic, but my work wasn't done. So I continued to play after 2004. And unfortunately for me, in 2010, I was reaching down for a low shot in a club team game and got hit on the side of the head by an opposing player's knee. And I got a concussion as we fell over, and that ended my soccer career. Now, a lot of people talk about grit. For me, this situation was incredibly difficult. Way more difficult than any situation I had ever been in my life, because I had to fight for my life. That concussion was so bad and so severe. It ended my soccer season, subsequently ended my soccer career. I had all the telltale symptoms: headaches, dizziness, nauseousness, sleeplessness, anxiety, panic attacks, inability to remember, to retrieve information, to learn new information. And I had these incredibly difficult and very painful headaches that always stemmed from behind my left ear. That was the most difficult time of my life between 2010 and 2013. In late 2013, early 2014, when I was literally on the verge of suicide. And the reason I didn't do it, I wouldn't be standing here with you today if it wasn't for my mom. And the thought of someone having to tell her that her baby was gone. That's what kept me going. And thank goodness, because shortly after that, entered a woman to help me with the insurance company in getting the treatment that I needed. Enter Krissa Zizos, my amazing wife, who helped me get through that time. And now, the amazing thing about the concussion and the 3 years of absolute hell and torment is those days, those weeks, those months, those years of going through the wilderness thinking that I was all alone and wondering how I was ever going to survive. Now that I'm on the other side of it, I'm so grateful. Because if I don't get the concussion, then I don't have my wife. So what I want to say to all of you is there are going to be times in your life, and you may be going through one right now, when it seems daunting, when it's dark, and it's hard, and it's difficult. And the thing you're facing and the hill and the mountain you're climbing may seem endless to you. And I know several of you are going through something like that. And whether it's a physical injury, whether it's coming out, whether it's trying to figure out who you are and where you fit in, don't give up. Don't ever give up. Because there are people out there who believe in you, who are there to help you, and they will. Who will go that extra mile for you when you don't think you can go another step. Don't ever forget there's hope. Now, I was able to describe to you some of my journey, and some of it is really amazing, and others parts of it are unfortunate, but all of it is me. And one of my greatest honors, after I was able to get the therapy I needed, and after I met Krissa, and in 2016, I was approached by the curators of the National Museum of African American History and Culture. And at the time, I didn't understand that my body of work, what I was doing in soccer, was really making that big of a difference. I knew it was for a lot of part, but I didn't know if it was making that big of a difference in my community. And they asked me to be in the museum, in the Smithsonian. That was by far the absolute greatest honor of my life. I was so humbled by that. And I can't even imagine, it's hard for me to even describe it. The only one thing that is difficult for me to handle with this situation is my mom and dad had passed before I was given that honor, and they weren't able to physically walk in through that museum and see me in the Game Changer exhibit with some amazing athletes, including the Williams sisters, Muhammad Ali, Michael Jordan, right in the same row as them, as the Title IX exhibit, as the Title IX person who's endorsing that. So hopefully all of you can understand that success is not a straight line. There are many peaks and valleys, and your plan may not always be exactly what you think it is. But please continue to strive. Continue to be open, continue to be helpful to other people, and you too might have an amazing journey. It wasn't until very recently that I decided to write a book about everything I've gone through. It's aptly titled My Greatest Save, and it'll be coming out next June on the 50th anniversary of Title IX. My story in my book is not just about me, and it's not just about soccer. It's about a young girl striving to find happiness, peace, love in many different things and many different people. I think in my heart that so many people will see themselves in my writings, in my pages, in my words. They will see, and I want everyone to know that your dreams are important, that you are important, and that you matter. And if a little 8-year-old girl, skinny as a rail, sitting on the couch with her mom and dad can declare, I want to be an Olympian, then you can do whatever it is in your heart to do. Thank you.